Hi, Buck Rizvi here, and this is another episode of Ultimate Lifespan TV. Today we continue our series talking about taking advantage of grocery store items to help you with the anti-aging process. And the reason I'm in my living room right now is we're going to talk about green tea. Now, the consumption of green tea dates back 5,000 years from in the land of China. But we here in America are very used to drinking tea. In fact, that goes back to the inception of America, brought to us by our friends from Great Britain. And my father is from India. He's a big consumer of tea, or the black tea variety in particular. So tea is not something that's new to us, but green tea in particular, that particular variety, both green tea and black tea originate from the same plant, but they're produced using two different methods. And the method that green tea is used, the way they produce green tea, is using a steaming method of the leaves. And it's that steaming that prevents the active ingredient that gives us the magic of, the life extension magic of green tea, something called catechin polyphenols, which is a very powerful antioxidant that's in green tea. And the steaming process of the leaves prevents this polyphenol content from being oxidized from the plant. Unfortunately, with things like black tea, where they use a fermentation process, a lot of those polyphenols are lost during the preparation of the black tea. So it's really the green tea that gives you the best benefit. Now, that active ingredient, as I mentioned, is something called catechin polyphenols. And the most potent of those is something called EGCG. And I'm going to butcher the name. It is called epigallocatechin gallate. But I think it's easier just to refer to it as EGCG. So that's one of the key active ingredients that's in green tea. But let's talk a little bit about some of the health benefits that you're going to realize from consuming green tea. Some of these may be familiar to you. Some of them might be new. Now, number one, something that's near and dear to my heart is anything that I can do that's going to help me burn more fat without having to worry about eating less or exercising more or changing other aspects of my diet. So one powerful effect of drinking green tea is that if you consume it during the day, it will actually help raise your daytime metabolism. And studies have shown that it can raise your daytime metabolism between 35 and 43%. That's very, very significant. So just one big benefit. Now, another side benefit of that is that there are no side effects from consuming green tea, and it doesn't stimulate your adrenal glands. So it's basically giving you that raising of metabolism and fat burning benefit without the effect of stimulants, which a lot of people cannot consume stimulants. Some people can't even consume excess caffeine, so that's very, very important. One other huge benefit is that studies have shown green tea to lower total cholesterol, and in particular, it helps to raise your good cholesterol or your HDL levels. So very, very powerful. For me, having a history of high blood cholesterol in my family and me myself, that's very important. For folks that are concerned about diabetes, green tea has been proven to help regulate your blood sugar, and that can help you if you're close to getting type 1 diabetes. It can actually help prevent you from getting type 1 diabetes. If you already have type 1 diabetes, then it can actually help slow the progress of type 1 diabetes. So very exciting news about that. And as I mentioned, a lot of us have heard about the antioxidant benefits of green tea. Specifically, the antioxidant benefits can help prevent the hardening of your arteries. That's very important. That one study that was performed in Japan showed that men there have a much lower incidence of heart disease, but 75% of Japanese men smoke. So there's paradox. People have talked about the French paradox when we talked about resveratrol in our previous episode of Ultimate Lifespan, but there's a Japanese paradox because those men smoke, 75% of them smoke, and they have a much lower incidence of heart disease, specifically the ones that are known to consume green tea, and that came out of the University of Kansas. The other data point that came out of the University of Kansas was that green tea was found to be, or the EGCG in green tea was found to be twice as powerful as resveratrol. So very, very good news indeed. Now, for a lot of us, people talk about the big C, and that is cancer. And green tea has shown to be a very powerful cancer fighter. There have been population studies that have been performed. There have been specific clinical studies that have been performed. One study came out of Japan, showed that there was a much lower recurrence of breast cancer for women that had previously had breast cancer. There was a lower recurrence of breast cancer in those women that drank 5 or more cups of green tea a day. So very exciting news. If I just want to summarize it real quick, you've got raises your daytime metabolism. It lowers your total cholesterol. It regulates your blood sugar, helps prevent you from contracting diabetes. It's a very powerful antioxidant. We've heard about that, but I just wanted to get into the details of that. And it's a very powerful cancer fighter. So exciting news indeed. So for something so inexpensive and so accessible to have such power and ability to impact our lives, I wanted to talk a little bit about the kinds of green tea that I like to enjoy, and this is straight out of my cupboard. I've got here a box of Zen tea. This is their harmonious blend with lemongrass and spearmint. Very, very tasty. And I think, green tea sometimes gets a bad rap because if you prepare it incorrectly or don't mix it with some interesting things, it might be a little bitter, it might not taste very pleasant to some people, but there are a lot of variations of green tea that are very, very tasty, and Zen is by Tazo. You can get this at Starbucks, you can get this at many grocery stores, so this Zen tea, very good indeed. My wife and I just discovered this brand. Now, she's still breastfeeding our baby, and this green tea is from Celestial Seasonings. It's their decaf mint with white tea for smooth taste. So it's a combination of that, plus it has a nice slug of mint and peppermint in it. So very, very tasty. Celestial Seasonings green tea. So easily accessible again at your local grocery store. Now, this third one here is something that I was just introduced to by a friend of mine. It's a combination of yerba mate, which we'll probably talk about in another edition of Ultimate Lifespan, but it includes green tea and peppermint all in one combination. Quite tasty, very inexpensive. It's organic, and it's available. It's the 365 brand that's available through Whole Foods. So if you're in the States, you certainly have access to Whole Foods, but there are other variations of this available, throughout the world. So I just wanted to talk about how accessible and how tasty it is. Why don't we switch gears here for a moment to talk about preparing your green tea. I have here with me a pot of hot water that I've already boiled, and I think one trick that they talk about when you prepare tea is to make sure that the water has been boiled, but it's just off boil. So you might want to let the pot boil and sit for 2 or 3 minutes so the temperature drops slightly. And then go ahead and put your bag or sachet here of green tea into the cup and pour your water over the bag in this case. This is the way I like to make it. And probably let it steep for 2 or 3 minutes. And then you might want to let it sit for a couple minutes after you've had a chance to remove the tea bag, let it cool off a bit. Now, as far as sweetening is concerned, something that I like to do is one of two things. My wife loves honey, so we have a couple. This is some organic honey. I also like the Really Raw brand of honey here in the U.S. This is liquid. I also like the Really Raw is more of a solid form of honey. We just didn't happen to have that in our cupboards today. And the other thing is, if I'm trying to cut down on the calories, I recommend using stevia as your sweetener. So this is the Sweet Leaf brand of stevia. It's really easy to use, and it's easy to scoop out and not put too much in, so you don't get too much of a sweetening effect. And it's not as bitter as some versions of stevia that I've tried. So that's the Sweet Leaf brand of stevia, again available at most grocery stores. And that's about it for our green tea section. I hope you enjoyed sitting in my living room with me here as we brewed a cup of tea. I'm about to enjoy it. I hope you get a chance to enjoy a cup of green tea, many cups of green tea very soon. In fact, one of the questions that comes up that I'll leave you with is, how many cups a day should you consume? I think it's absolutely safe to consume 4 to 5 cups a day of tea, and each cup is going to give you somewhere in the neighborhood of 80 to 100 milligrams of polyphenols per cup. So very powerful, potent antioxidant to help you live the ultimate life. This is Buck Rizvi signing out with Ultimate Lifespan. May you have the ultimate lifespan. Talk to you soon.